Everything you learned in school about the beginning of human civilization follows a very clear timeline. First, humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers living in caves and struggling to survive each day. Then they discovered agriculture, settled on the land, built the first cities, and only them with an organized society had the time and resources to create religion and erect great temples. This was the absolute truth of science for over a century, until a single mountain of dust in southeastern Turkey proved us completely wrong. Today, the Enigma Archive travels to the Anatolian region to investigate the archaeological site of Göbekli Tepe, a discovery so monumental, so ancient, and so impossible for its time that it forced scientists worldwide to rewrite the history of humanity. The discovery occurred in 1994, when the German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt was walking on a hill known to local shepherds as the Hill of the Navel. Schmidt noticed pieces of sculpted limestone protruding from the earth. He began a careful excavation, and what he found beneath the soil was not just a ruin. It was a gigantic architectural complex. When the carbon-14 samples returned from the laboratory, the results shocked the academic world. The structures had been erected about 12,000 years ago. We are talking about the 10th millennium BC. To put this into perspective, Göbekli Tepe is 7,000 years older than Stonehenge in England. It is 7,500 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. When the Sumerians invented the first writing system in humanity, Göbekli Tepe was already an ancient ruin, forgotten for millennia beneath the earth. It is officially the oldest temple in the world, but its age is not its greatest mystery. The true enigma of Göbekli Tepe is the mathematics of its construction. The complex is formed by a series of circular enclosures. In the center of each circle, two gigantic limestone pillars in the shape of a T-stand, surrounded by smaller pillars. Some of these monoliths reach 5.5 meters in height and weigh between 10 and 20 tons. They were not assembled from small pieces. Each pillar was carved from a single solid block, extracted from a quarry hundreds of meters away. The problem that plagues archaeology is who made this. 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the wheel did not exist. There were no domesticated draught animals such as oxen or horses. There was no pulley, and most importantly, there were no metal tools. Humanity at that time only knew tools made of stone, bone, and wood. How did nomadic hunters, using only stone chips, manage to carve 20-ton colossal stones, transport them up steep slopes, and erect them perfectly aligned? And they didn't just erect the stones. They transformed them into deadly works of art. The pillars of Göbekli Tepe are adorned with incredibly detailed high-relief sculptures, but you won't see images of benevolent gods or tranquil pastures. The stones are teeming with terrifying predators, sharp-toothed lions, wild boars, foxes, giant spiders, scorpions, and sinister vultures frolicking with human heads. It was a sanctuary focused on respect and mortal fear of the forces of nature. Organizing a project of this magnitude requires a level of logistics that science believed to be impossible for hunters to extract, move, and carve these stones, a workforce of hundreds. Perhaps thousands of people working together for years, perhaps decades, would have been necessary. But how do you feed thousands of workers in the same place for so long if agriculture hadn't yet been invented? How did dispersed and territorial tribes agree to stop hunting and fighting each other to build a monumental stone monument? The discovery of Göbekli Tepe turned science upside down and created a fascinating new theory. Researchers now believe that it wasn't the invention of agriculture that allowed the creation of the temples. It was the other way around. Man's spiritual desire to gather, worship, and build this colossal temple demanded so much energy and so many mouths to feed that it forced these tribes to discover a way to mass-produce food right there. The temple forced the invention of agriculture. It is no coincidence that the world's first domesticated wheat strains were found just a few kilometers from the archaeological site. religion, not the need for food, may have been the true spark that created human civilization. Göbekli Tepe was the center of the spiritual world of that era. It was the technological and social pinnacle of humanity 12,000 years ago. But then, around the year 8000 BC, something inexplicable happened. After centuries of monumental effort, continuous work, and immeasurable sacred symbolism, the people who built the temple decided it should no longer see the light of day. They didn't abandon the site because of war, plague, or an earthquake. The site wasn't naturally covered in dust over the millennia. Archaeology has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the entire Göbekli Tepe complex was intentionally and meticulously buried on purpose by human beings. And it wasn't a simple task. To cover 5-meter-high pillars, they needed thousands and thousands of tons of earth, gravel, and smaller stones. Worse still, amidst this filler earth, archaeologists found a macabre quantity of animal bones and even shattered human bones. They created an artificial mountain atop their greatest work, sealing it like a shielded time capsule in the dark. The big question that still burns the minds of scientists today is, why? Why would a civilization dedicate decades to building the greatest wonder of the ancient world, only to spend years making a colossal effort to erase it from the face of the earth? Will they hide in the temple from invading enemies? Did the place become cursed or taboo in their minds? Or perhaps that time capsule was perfectly sealed so that future generations like ours would find it intact. If you think the mystery can't get any deeper, prepare yourself for the final fact. To date, after nearly 3 decades of continuous excavations, archaeologists estimate that only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been unearthed. That's right, 95% of the complex is still down there, hidden in darkness. Ground-penetrating radar scans have shown that there are at least 15 more circular enclosures and over 200 gigantic pillars still dormant beneath the hill in southeastern Turkey, waiting to see the sun again. Klaus Schmidt, the man who discovered the site, once said that it would take another 50 years of excavations just to scratch the surface of what this place truly means. Göbekli Tepe is proof that the history of humanity is not a straight line, but a jigsaw puzzle with many missing and purposefully buried pieces. This is the Enigma Archive, and in your opinion, what was the real reason that led this civilization to bury its greatest work? Leave your theory in the comments, like the video to support our work, and subscribe so we can continue unearthing the facts.